Imagine your company is the star of a makeover show, but instead of a dramatic glow-up, it's more like putting lipstick on a pig. You hire a slick consultant, slap on a code of conduct, call one training session a year, done, and hope for the best. That pig goes viral, and not in a good way. So let's breathe real-life strategy into your ethics program. Culture-led, risk-aware, not a one-off snooze fest. Risk-based, tailored, and values-driven. Let's face it, boilerplate compliance is like reheating pizza. It's functional, but tasteless. The Department of Justice guidance demands programs be well-designed, risk-tailored, resourced, and effective in practice. That means conducting fresh risk assessments that go beyond old-school bribery fears to include emerging threats like AI bias, data privacy lapses, and third-party supply chain misdemeanors. Meanwhile, LRN's Ethics and Compliance Effectiveness Report confirms that companies with values-based ethical programs outperform rivals, often by margins of 40% in customer satisfaction, loyalty, and innovation. Let me translate. Employees aren't waking up thinking about Foreign Corrupt Practices Act fines. They are thinking, does this action align with who we are? Still, many mid-level managers say values are vague. They need training to walk those talk lines. Leadership that doesn't whisper compliance. A code posted in a drawer is not a culture. Department of Justice emphasizes that leadership must visibly champion ethics, not just nod politely. They scrutinize whether compliance teams are empowered, funded, and genuinely listened to. In 2025, whistleblower protocols are no longer optional. Companies must prove that anonymous reporting channels are safe and speak-up data is tracked. Department of Justice even introduced guaranteed declination letters. Essentially, they promise not to prosecute companies if misconduct is self-reported and handled. If your leaders still roll their eyes at compliance officers, you might be missing the boat, and possibly a letter of declination. Training that doesn't induce naps. If your employees snore during compliance training, you've failed. Department of Justice now expects training that's relevant to roles, engaging, measurable, and not just checked off. Almost sounds impossible, but hear me out. Imagine this. Styled like a Netflix series, employees watch Bob versus the AI chatbot, as Bob accidentally leaks customer data into ChatGPT. Animated chaos ensues. That's followed by a quiz. What could Bob have done differently? That's micro-learning delight. Short, real-world, memorable. Gamification and scenario-based modules boost retention and behavior shift. And yes, you can make compliance actually fun, or at least less dreadful. Delivery should blend formats, short animations, quizzes, live workshops sprinkled into monthly huddles, integrated into the flow of work. Not something employees reschedule because urgent email popped up. Embedding ethics. Training is just the start. You need ethics embedded in your daily ethos. TechRadar recently argued that a culture of data privacy beats a policy checklist any day. When every team, from marketing to procurement, understands why data protection matters, trust soars. The University of Melbourne's 2025 report highlights that DEI and AI ethics training integrated into core leadership development drives better decisions, more innovation, and stronger brand perception. Companies that simply lecture on diversity often flop. Those that weave inclusive practice into leadership behaviors actually move the needle. AI governance is another front line. Department of Justice guidance stresses that companies should test, audit, and govern AI systems to prevent bias, hallucinations, and misuse. You don't want employees casually uploading confidential data to third-party chatbots. Training must address that reality. It's not just your staff who needs training. If you trained your own people but ignore your vendors and suppliers, you're essentially running code of conduct blackouts outside your walls. Department of Justice now requires ongoing due diligence of third parties, not just background checks, but periodic audits, risk reassessments, and tailored compliance expectations. Use technology like vendor risk platforms that automatically flag troubling behavior, training gaps, or regulatory violations. Metrics and tech. Gone are the days of guessing how compliance works. Department of Justice reviewed 2024 guidance placing data analytics and tech access at the heart of effective compliance evaluation. Modern programs use an LMS to track completions, time spent on modules, quiz scores, survey feedback, and yes, even sentiment analysis on feedback comments. But the real magic? Using that data to evolve. If phishing simulation scores drop in one region or department, you beef up training there. High-performing programs cross-link data from multiple sources, hotline use, incident logs, audit findings, to measure effectiveness. Evaluation and reinforcement. If compliance training ends after a module, it's like going to the gym once and expecting six-pack abs. DOJ guidance recommends continuous reinforcement, periodic surveys, climate audits, incident follow-ups, and refresher modules timed around events, e.g. holiday parties, product launches. Discipline must be consistent. What's the point of a glossy training video if a senior executive gets away scot-free after a violation? Department of Justice watches whether corrective action is fair and complete, even at the top. National security and regulatory pressures. Strap in. Regulators are doubling down. A new U.S. data security program began April 2025, imposing export-like controls on personal or government-related data. The EU's AI Act enters its second enforcement phase August 2, 2025. Companies must now follow a voluntary code of practice on transparency, lawful data sourcing, and security by design, or face up to 7% global turnover fines. Meanwhile, anti-corruption enforcement isn't slowing. Even with a temporary FCPA pause, UK and US authorities are coordinating tougher transnational corruption crackdowns. All this means compliance isn't optional, it's strategic defense. Sample training modules that don't suck. Get ready to retire those yawn-worthy compliance videos. Our new training lineup actually doesn't suck. First up, Bob's Big AI Blunder stars everyone's favorite oblivious coworker who accidentally spills user data to a chatbot, cue dramatic zoom, and a quiz on what went horribly wrong. Then there's the whistleblower role play, where employees practice flagging shady vendor behavior using an anonymous hotline. In micro-bias bingo, animated meetings go sideways with subtle bias, and you swoop in to save the day with inclusive choices. Bingo, bias no mo. Things get real in supply chain drama, where a vendor gets busted for forced labor, and you walk the tightrope of ethical escalation. Finally, the phishing attack simulation turns your inbox into a minefield. Spot the fake, survive the attack, and earn micro lessons like a battle-hardened cyber ninja. To keep it all fresh, real, and caffeinated, we're adding live monthly compliance coffee chats with managers, because nothing says ethics like awkward questions and free pastries. The Compliance Glow-Up Checklist. By now, your compliance program should feel less like watching paint dry and more like a strategic advantage. Design it around risk and values. Train it with engagement, humor, and relevance. Back it with data and strong metrics. Embed it in culture, privilege leadership endorsement, and enforce it fairly. Then, keep evolving. Because in 2025, compliance programs are not just about avoiding fines, they're about actively building trust, reducing risk, and enhancing reputation. When done well, it's less about box checking and more about being the organization people trust, inside and out. If you learned something new today, smash that like and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below if you've survived a truly terrible compliance training. We want to hear your horror stories or redemption arcs. Until next time, keep your code clean, your inbox suspicious, and your ethics sharp. See ya.